didn't arrive in a nylon bag, I arrived in a black SUV with tinted windows. I didn't go to show off or spray money. I went to the mama put where I used to sleep.
So tell us what really happened. How did you become this iconic? It was a journey starting from a small town with big dreams.
Still remember the smell of kerosene and burnt onions from the day my father kicked me out. I was 14 years old, standing in the middle of a flooded street in Mushin, Lagos. I had nothing but a black nylon bag containing one pair of worn-out slippers and my school uniform. My stepmother had finally won. She convinced my father that my ambition, my constant reading of old newspapers and borrowed books was a sign of witchcraft. She told him, a girl who spends her time reading instead of hawking pure water is bringing a curse on this house. She thinks she's better than us. Most people see the grace part of my life now, the Lekki penthouse, the Range Rover, the tech investments. They see a curvy, successful Nigerian woman in a custom silk suit and think I was born into this. But they didn't see me that night, sleeping under the Ojuelegba Bridge, shivering while the mosquitoes treated my skin like an all-you-can-eat buffet. I wasn't a CEO then. I was just that girl in the nylon bag. For 2 years, I lived in the shadows. I found work at a mama put, local food stall near the motor park. My pay? Leftover jollof rice and a corner on the greasy kitchen floor to sleep. My day started at 4 a.m., scrubbing massive iron pots that were bigger than my entire torso. My hands were always raw, smelling of soap and wood smoke. I remember one night, a group of girls my age passed by the store. They were in their school uniforms, laughing about a boy. I hid behind a stack of crates because I didn't want them to see me. I was 15 and I felt like a ghost. I'd watch the local transport drivers eat and talk about their lives, feeling like I was on the outside of humanity looking in. The turning point? A customer, a busy businessman in a crisp white shirt, left behind a cracked smartphone on the table. He was in such a hurry to catch a bus that he didn't notice. The customer who left his phone came back the next day. When I tried to return it, he said it was badly damaged and told me to keep it or trash it. I kept it. I found out the local library 3 miles away had free Wi-Fi. Every night after the pots were clean and Mama Tunde was snoring, I would walk in the dark to there. I wasn't looking at TikTok. I was obsessed with a world I didn't know existed, virtual assisting, SEO, and copywriting. I would work 14 hours in the heat, then spend 4 hours in the dark on that cracked screen, teaching myself how to write professional emails for brands I found on Instagram. My first big break was a $50 job. A lady in the UK needed captions for her boutique. I remember my hands shaking as I typed on that cracked screen. When that notification hit, I cried into a plate of cold eba. $50 was more than my father made in a month of hard labor. I saved every kobo. I stopped eating twice a day. By 19, I rented a tiny face me, I face you room. It had no ceiling, just a zinc roof that roared when it rained. I bought a second-hand laptop that hissed like a snake and got hot enough to fry an egg. I started an agency, just me and my snake laptop. I reached out to 100 businesses a day. 99 said no. Some told me I sounded too African. Some didn't reply. But one boutique owner in Atlanta said yes. I worked for her as if my life depended on it, because it did. I didn't just write captions, I studied her analytics. I figured out her peak posting times. I responded to every comment. Within 3 months, her sales tripled. She didn't just keep me, she became my biggest advocate. Suddenly, the girl from Mushin was managing accounts for women in New York, London, and Dubai. Fast forward 5 years, my agency grew from just me to a team of 15 young African women, all of them from backgrounds just like mine. I made sure their salaries were 3 times the market rate. I moved from Mushin to a serviced office in Victoria Island. But as the money grew, so did the ghosts of my past. The family that threw me out suddenly remembered me. My father found my number through a distant cousin. He called me, his voice cracking, saying he'd been misled by the devil, meaning my stepmother. He said he'd been praying for me every night. I knew it was a lie, but it hurt more than the truth. Then came the message from her, the woman who called me a witch. She sent a long WhatsApp message full of emojis. My beautiful daughter, we saw your picture in the business magazine. We are so proud. Your brothers need school fees and the roof is leaking. God will bless you as you help us. Remember your roots. The irony was so thick I could almost taste it. They didn't want the curse, but they certainly wanted the currency. Last Christmas, I went back to Mushin. I didn't arrive in a nylon bag. I arrived in a black SUV with tinted windows. I didn't go to show off or spray money. I went to the Mama Put where I used to sleep. The woman who owned it, Mama Tunde, was old and her store was falling apart. I didn't just give her money, I bought the entire block. I'm turning it into a tech center called the Ambition Hub. It's a place with 24/7 power and high-speed internet for girls who are currently standing where I stood 10 years ago. My father tried to hug me, talking about how blood is thicker than water. I looked him in the eye and said, water may be thin, but it's what kept me alive when you left me to die in the mud. I will pay for the kids' school fees because they are innocent, and I will fix the roof for the sake of the children, but don't call me your daughter. You lost that right when you watched me walk into the rain with a nylon bag. To anyone listening, your current location is not your destination. If you have a brain and a way to reach the world, you have a weapon. Don't let them call your ambition a curse. You are the grace they never expected.
Proceed. That was quite a story. I am happy to share. I'm glad you enjoyed it.